everybody, this is Rex Bear with Leak Project. I hope you're having a fantastic evening tonight. I wanted to go over with you just some of the most recent current events that I've found scouring the internet for just interesting stories that I think are important. And the first one that I wanted to bring to your attention was actually an asteroid that has been discovered. And supposedly, according to the USA Today, NASA planning mission to an asteroid worth 10,000 quadrillion dollars. First of all, I'd like to know how they got that calculation, but according to the information, it's made out of nickel, essentially. And let me see what else this thing's made out of. You would think diamonds or gold, but here's what it says. This is an opportunity to explore a new type of world, not one of rock or ice, but of metal. So it looks to me like it's worth 10,000 quadrillion dollars, according to this report, and they're going to send something called the Psyche. They're sending a ship called the Psyche in October of 2023, and it's supposed to arrive on the asteroid in 2030. So I think that's incredible if this is legit. It would be fascinating to see what's actually out there. I wonder how much has been searched and scoured already in the solar system and the cosmos that they haven't told us about. Maybe there's been certain ships and satellites that have landed on specific asteroids or comets that have metals and materials that we haven't even heard about. So, I mean, that's certainly a possibility in space. Now, another thing, while this is going on, while we're planning on jumping into the stars and looking for these amazing comets of metal, the hyperinflation, I'm going to jump to the next story here, and this is on Fox News World. You can read about it. Hyperinflation renders Venezuela a nation of broke millionaires. Think about that for a minute. The nation is full of millionaires, and their money is worth virtually nothing. I mean, it takes bucketfuls of cash to buy loaves of bread. And this reminds me of what you hear about Germany pre-World War II, about how they were nearly a bankrupt nation, and it was taking wheelbarrows of currency to purchase food. Well, the same thing's basically going on in Venezuela. So when is that going to be a domino effect? And when will that start to hit other countries? When is that going to affect the United States? I've talked to people that feel this is going to be a year of serious correction, meaning it could even get into depression levels. Now, I'm hoping for the best. I don't see that this year, but some people do. Do you guys remember back in 2008 when the market started to slowly tank and then boom, stocks that were $60, $70 a share were worth $2 or $3? You got to be very aware of this kind of stuff. I think that if you keep track of the stock market personally, and just my opinion from what I've seen in the past, if you keep track of the stock market, that's a good barometer to connected to other industries and possible scenarios. You know what I mean? So hyperinflation renders Venezuela a nation of broke millionaires. Is that going to happen to the United States? And if so, when? Do you guys think that this year, 2017, is going to be a year of great change? I know a lot of people thought that back in 2008 when Obama got put in office. So time will tell on that. But hey, don't worry about it, because we're sending spaceships to asteroids and comets full of metal and gold and diamonds and rubies, so we'll be just fine. And not only that, we don't have to worry about the deforestation of the planet. There's plenty of articles you can read. Go to Washington Post right now. Humans have destroyed 7% of the Earth's pristine forests. But that's okay. That's no big deal, because just ask the really smart people out there on TV. We're in a hologram anyway, so it doesn't really matter. This is just an advanced video game, so we can do whatever we want because we can just create more of it, right? It's all just ones and zeros, isn't it? I mean, we're just in a computer simulation anyway, according to a lot of these gurus out there. So no worries. Let's just keep pillaging the earth. And not only that, you guys, I mean, so what about Venezuela? So what about the people that are starving here at home? I mean, that doesn't matter, because you can go out and buy a Rolls Royce right now that's infused with diamonds and gold. I mean, who cares? I want a Rolls Royce with diamonds and gold, because that's what life's all about, ladies and gentlemen. Having nice stuff for yourself. Who cares about all the other people, right? I mean, we've got opportunities here to go buy a Rolls Royce infused with diamonds and gold. Who cares about the forest? Who cares about the people that are starving right now? Who cares about what's going on in our backyard or overseas? Because we can buy a Rolls Royce with diamonds and gold infused. And that, in my opinion, just shows the dystopian society that we're in. I'm all for capitalism. I'm all for working hard and working smart and making lots of money and doing great things with that money. I mean, that is one of the nice things about the United States. But how far are we going to take it as a whole? Are we going to continue to say, well, we're not doing it, the other guy's doing it, so it's okay? You know, we'll be all right, our grandkids will be okay, but who knows what's going to happen to our great-grandkids? I'm sure they'll figure something out. Right now, we literally have an opportunity that probably comes around once every 1,000 years. Do we want to take advantage of the opportunity? Do we want a Jetsons future? Do we want a Star Trek type future? Or do we want a idiocracy future? Do we want a future of dystopia where you've got a very small elite class that's driving around in Rolls Royces infused with gold and rubies and diamonds, while tens of millions, if not over 100 million, if not over a billion people are living in squalor? Now, the way that I'm talking, I wonder if some people are wondering, well, man, Rex, what are you, like a socialist or a communist? Absolutely not. Once again, I feel that we all have a right to earn as much money as we can. I think that's a good thing. There does need to be checks and balances, in my opinion. Corporations that are making hundreds of millions, billions, and trillions of dollars, causing mass deforestation, polluting the planet, fracking the world, literally causing tons of people to get sick from the chemicals that their product produces, etc., or that their company produces. There's got to be a line here, you guys. I mean, I can certainly see a balance that we need to find with the earth. And some people think that we live this life once. Some people feel that we reincarnate all the time. You know, let's think about that for a minute. What if we do reincarnate? What if we do come back here? What do we want it to be like when we come back? Worse or better? People are going to have to start waking up. You're going to have to do something different or expect the same results. What's insanity? You know the line. Doing the same thing, expecting different results. Now, with that said, if somebody has enough money to buy a diamond-infused gold Rolls Royce, and that's what they want to do with their money, hey, I get it. Right on. Go do that. That's not my point here. My point is there's enough people out there that can spend their money on that kind of stuff, and then rather do that than put money into technology or opportunities that could make Rolls Royces completely obsolete. Like flying cars on air or something like that. Have you guys seen those cars that run on compressed air in India? They've been around for over 10 years, but nobody talks about that kind of stuff. You know, I was having a conversation with somebody that's very smart earlier today about how I am personally pretty impressed with Elon Musk. I think he's doing a really good job with Tesla and with the battery packs that he's coming out with and with what he's done in the rocket industry. Now, does that mean that he's coming out with the best technologies available? Or does that mean that he doesn't have better stuff out there right now that he's holding on to? Who knows what's going on? He probably does have better technologies out there, and he probably is doing somewhat of a trickle effect. But how far can you go when you're rogue like that? Or maybe he isn't. I mean, maybe he's got people that are very prestigious, that are considered the dark lords, that are protecting him for some reason. I don't know. But what I do see is what he's done so far in the car industry and the rocket industry is impressive to me, in my opinion. So there's a lot of opportunities we have here right now, being a globally connected world right now. We are literally globally connected. We have the opportunity to be independent. We can go take off into Alaska where there's no cell phone towers. We can do complete homestead off the grid if we want to. Or we have an opportunity to live in a completely full technology, cell phones, cameras, computers, everything else in between. Whatever you guys want, you can do, essentially. It just takes doing it. Now, let's get into something else that I think is pretty cool. Let's jump subjects here for a minute. I was kind of going on a tangent there. CIA releases 13 million declassified documents online. How cool is that? Now, you can actually go to the CIA website if you want to. I've been fooling around here today. They're probably watching me right now through QuickTime as I'm having this podcast on their website. Hello. Okay, so it's on cia-gov/library, and you can read a whole bunch of declassified documents on UFOs, on different colleges, connecting with different alphabet agencies saying, reporting on UFOs, unidentified flying objects. A lot of this stuff's been completely blacked out and deleted, but they released the documents, which makes it even more peculiar, in my opinion. Why do they release a document that has everything blacked out if they have nothing to hide? So whatever. In my opinion, there's enough stuff out there right now that this is kind of like a soft disclosure, essentially. You guys remember the files a few years ago that came out on FBI.gov/vault where they talked about Roswell, where, what was his name? Guy Hoddle came out and said, he was an agent. He came out and said that he saw 3 craft with 3 beams in each craft. Each beam is about 3 foot tall. It's interesting how they use the 333 analogy there. So they didn't come out and say they were little gray men or green men or aliens, but he did say they were 3 foot tall beings, and they were wearing like a metallic suit. So there's a whole bunch of new documents right now that if you guys want to scour on the CIA website, if you want to find some good gems or information, you can send it to me, and then we can also share that information with the rest of the audience. I don't have a whole lot of time right now to dive into this website. I spent a little bit of time there today, and I'll do what I can, but it's interesting to see what's out there. So I'm giving a shout out right now for any independent reporters or those that listen to Leak Project. You have an opportunity right now to get some pretty good information, put a few pieces together, and you might have yourself a full puzzle. So that's a pretty cool deal right there. That's a lot of documents. That's a lot of information. And another thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about, this is pretty interesting, is the radio signal that was detected by astronomers a short while ago coming from a sun-like star. Now, they're trying to debunk it, but at the same time, they're saying they can't debunk it being an artificial sound source from an intelligent being or intelligent beings. So it's an interesting signal. You can read about it on the Business Insider. There's a chart of powerful and potentially alien radio signal that allegedly came from the vicinity of the star HD 164595. You can read about that on the Business Insider. So that's pretty cool. Now that brings me to the next thing about satellites and technology. They've got satellites and technology that can pick up sounds trillions of miles away. Very faint sounds, trillions and trillions of miles away. And you can read an article. This is going to kind of, how do I put this? This is kind of interject into what I'm going to finish talking about in this podcast. Now, this is an article called Why Brain-to-Brain Communication is No Longer Unthinkable. This is on the Smithsonian's website, smithsonian.com. Exploring uncharted territory, neuroscientists are making strides with human subjects who can talk directly by using their minds. Think about that for a minute. Now, this is consumer tech, you guys. They've literally got these hats you can put on that have different sensors connected to them, that when your brain stimulates, when you think something, it will pick up that stimulation. Now, if you think that's far-fetched, let me tell you about another article that you can read about. It's called Biophotons. The human body communicates with, and is made from light. Biophotons. Every time you think something, your brain creates biophotons that can be seen with certain telescopes or with certain camera equipment, essentially. Now, it isn't within the 0.01% of the electromagnetic light spectrum that your eyes can see. It's in a different part of the light spectrum, but there is technology that can pick up on that. So where am I going with this? Every time you think something, it has an individual signature which can then be tracked. Now, does that mean that there's computers out there that are reading your mind literally right now? Does that mean that there's computers out there right now that read your mind and then send information back into your mind to cause you to have certain reactions? Does that mean that the supercomputers that can calculate almost 300 quadrillion floating points per second with Minority Report type software can predict people's future outcomes based on the information that's picking up from your brain currently? I don't know. This is all speculation. Although it wouldn't surprise me with the white papers that I've read about, the patents that I've seen, if this technology already exists. Now, have any of you ever had an EEG growing up? Did any of you ever have a seizure? So you had to go to the doctor hooked you up to an EEG machine where they basically have you lay down for an hour. You have to be just completely still. You're not even supposed to swallow because that affects your brain stimuli, that affects the brain waves that are picked up by this machine. Your brain has certain energy. These waves can be deciphered into what you're thinking. So my point here is, what are they already doing that we don't know about? What do they do with these TV shows and these video games and these blockbuster movies that come out in the mainstream? Does that have an effect that will cause your brain to think a certain way and respond in a certain fashion? These are all great questions to ask. Now, another thing that I think is very interesting as well on top of this is if you take into account the biophotons that your body emits, if they can track those into, let's say, emotional states, so they don't even need to know exactly what you're thinking, they can just say, okay, that biophoton, that person is in an extremely agitated mood, or that person is in a great mood. Well, then they can see exactly what got you into that mood. So they can create certain emotions and certain triggers without even having to completely read your mind. Now let's top that with societies and cultures and city blocks and entire cities. You know, this is where the future programming and the control of societies can be done without putting any troops on the ground, without having anybody even step out of line because of their mental state. And that's why I question everything. That's why I question things so much sometimes that it almost is never ending. Because of the things that are out there today, the more we're aware of this stuff, the more we think about it, talk about it, and discuss it, the better chance we're going to have getting rid of this kind of stuff and having an awesome life. I mean, that's the point, right? Be happy, help others, learn, and rock and roll. So make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/clandestinetimelord, also leakproject.com. Thanks for listening to me rant, and have a fantastic day. I also wanted to give a huge shout out to getthetea.com. Getthetea.com is one of our sponsors here at Leak Project, and as I told you guys before, I was very cautious to pick any sponsors, and the ones that I decided to choose had to be top-notch. I've been taking their product now for the past couple of weeks, and I feel amazing. I mean, this stuff is absolutely incredible. So they've got a wide variety of products, detox stuff. They've got different teas in pill form as well. It's incredible super tea, you guys. Seriously, try it for a week. You will not regret it. Getthetea.com. Hey everybody, this is Rex Bear with Leak Project. I hope you're having a fantastic evening tonight. I wanted to go over with you just some of the most recent current events that I've found scouring the internet for just interesting stories that I think are important. And the first one that I wanted to bring to your attention was actually an asteroid that has been discovered. And supposedly, according to the USA Today, NASA planning mission to an asteroid worth $10,000 quadrillion. First of all, I'd like to know how they got that calculation, but according to the information, it's made out of nickel, essentially. And let me see what else this thing's made out of. You would think diamonds or gold, but here's what it says. This is an opportunity to explore a new type of world, not one of rock or ice, but of metal. So it looks to me like it's worth $10,000 quadrillion according to this report, and they're going to send something called the Psyche. They're sending a ship called the Psyche in October of 2023, and it's supposed to arrive on the asteroid in 2030. So I think that's incredible if this is legit. It would be fascinating to see what's actually out there. I wonder how much has been searched and scoured already in the solar system and the cosmos that they haven't told us about. Maybe there's been certain ships and satellites that have landed on specific asteroids or comets that have metals and materials that we haven't even heard about. So, I mean, that's certainly a possibility in space. Now, another thing, while this is going on, while we're planning on jumping into the stars and looking for these amazing comets of metal, the hyperinflation, I'm going to jump to the next story here, and this is on Fox News World. You can read about it. Hyperinflation renders Venezuela a nation of broke millionaires. Think about that for a minute. The nation is full of millionaires, and their money is worth virtually nothing. I mean, it takes bucketfuls of cash to buy loaves of bread. And this reminds me of what you hear about Germany pre-World War II, about how they were nearly a bankrupt nation, and it was taking wheelbarrows of currency to purchase food. Well, the same thing's basically going on in Venezuela. So when is that going to be a domino effect? And when will that start to hit other countries? When is that going to affect the United States? I've talked to people